come here and meet me.
Good morning. It is now 9:02, and I'll call the Sewage and Water Board Finance Administration Committee meeting to order. Special counsel, please call the roll.
Director Kennedy,
Here.
Director Patricio, Director Howard,
Here.
Director Scruggs,
Present.
Director Greenwich.
Here.
Thank you very much. We have a quorum, and we'll now proceed. We have 3 presentation items today, and we'll start off with our CFO, Gray Lewis.
Thank you. Appreciate the committee providing us the opportunity to give an update. Lots going on here in the beginning of in Q1. The Oracle system is now live. We're happy to report. So that started this week. Major project that we've been talking about is upgrading the mainframe system that's 32 years old. So that's now off. We're using Oracle. We're going to work with the our new CIO. Next month we'll share with the committee a few slides. But yeah, again, very happy with that project. So we'll jump into the December numbers. They're preliminary of our process. Was a little different because of the conversion. So you'll notice the full regular financials are not included, but so we'll be able to cover key numbers. So for the month, water sewer revenue, operating revenue was $26 million, which was above budget. That was driven by larger bill counts. If you recall, November was a little less, so this caught up. And then year-to-date, $271.3 million operating revenue, which is about almost $3 million above the estimate. In other revenues, about $5 million during December, included some fair share that was caught up that we recorded. And then on operating expenditures, $45.4 million. This is driven because of the conversion. We basically had a different sort of cutoff process to basically ask all the departments to get everything in that normally kind of trickles in January, February, March. So those amounts were higher, and that was really throughout, like the operating side. Direct expenses and treatment was like $8 million. Sewer operating expenses with Veolia, pumping and power with our Delta and Entergy bills. So that was December. Year-to-date, still much less than budget, $335.55 million. So overall, we're really working on just normalizing our operations with the new system. We'll be making all of our accruals and things for the audit in the new system. Getting everything, all the business transformation processes going. That's what we're focused on right now. Collections just got the January this last month's number, $21.2 million, and then December was $22.8 million. So the January figure was much better than January of '25. So hopefully that will continue. And as mentioned, we're going to have some additional. Susanna's going to present additionally on some updates in billing collections. This slide is just depicting our monthly billed versus collected. The ratio for the last 12 months is up at 9%. It was 2% at the same point at the end of 2024. And then we have included additional information about volume billed. So the blue is the monthly revenue in dollars. The red is volume, and so the volume was 1.4 billion gallons billed in the month of December. In I didn't have the December monthly revenue. That number actually ticked up. So the blue was slightly higher. So there's you can see some correlation, but I'll need to basically work on how, if you don't see the correlation, you would expect, what might have been the drivers. But that's what we're doing here, is just mapping gallons delivered in hundreds compared to monthly revenue. They should correlate.
Oh, that was my question. They should be the same, shouldn't they? I mean, there should be a relationship between what's billed monthly for the volume?
It's
Yeah, if it's higher relative to the prior month, then the volume's higher, which generally we see.
Right, but wouldn't they track each other?
Yeah, so generally it would, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to start tracking this, because if you think about some of our accounts, like school accounts and things like that, that we have agreements with on how we bill,
Oh,
if we bill those in certain months, you could see a spike, which could attribute to some of that, but of course, we need to investigate it to make sure there's
That's
not
weird.
other things going on, but those are some of the reasons why we're tracking this to see.
thank you.
Thanks, Susanna. Next slide is the estimated versus actuals is about the same number, 98%. On our next slide, we show the breakdown of the 173 bills that were issued during the month and the amount that did not have a consumption reading for the three reasons there. So that number was 3,437. And Becca's going to present a little more on the smart metering here in a little bit. For the month on customer credits, HGI was issued a 572,000 customer credits in the month of December, about average to the last several months, and overall 1.67 million of customer credits provided for the month of December. Receivables were relatively flat over the month, and we have 15,700 people on payment plans, or about 67% of a population of a little over 23,000 customers with a past due balance. Next on the dashboard, I just want to highlight to the committee the amount that we've tracked for line 9, days cash on hand at the end of December, calculated 102 for water, 148 for sewer, both above our required minimums. And then on service disconnects, the total for the month was 1,200, which we show on the graph too. So it's gone back up for the month of December, which we also, as mentioned, need to continue on that to enforce our collections as a last resort. Debt obligations, we continue to draw on the existing long-term financing. No change in these, we just continue to draw down on those existing bonds. Capital appropriations for the year, we finished out spending $272 million on CapEx spending for the 12-month period, $150.7 million in new appropriations. And then on grants, for the month of December, we had $6.5 million received, primarily almost all the HMGP grants. Next slide, just to highlight the committee, there's not a change in the monthly number for the month since last month for the minor drainage revenue. That's tied to the amount of fair share that we're getting through the IMF. It's $8.5 million. We do understand from the city, November, December collections for fair share are going through their reconciliation procedures. So we do expect to get those, just haven't got the numbers yet for November, December. So this is, as you know, will be a top of list item to meeting with the new administration on minor drainage funding. And have been able to recently meet with a new CFO at the city, and of course talking about the joint infrastructure receivables, and we'll be meeting with the new CAO, of course. So for the month of January, we paid $3.2 million related to these receivables, and then last quarter paid $16.2 million. So we'll continue to pay on each of these based on the CEAs and as the work continues for JIRR. Next slide is customer service arena. The monthly December numbers were 39,458 total customers served, and the average wait time is 4 minutes, 12 seconds. So happy to answer any additional questions. We have additional people here that can help as well, but that's all the prepared remarks.
That's great. Comments? And
The only thing is maybe next meeting come back. I was curious about the changes in the accrual method. And you said you were gonna talk, so you like have some changes in some policies and how they're collecting within the month for the month. And it's just, I would like to know those, so when we're looking at things month over month, year over year, you know, how we can kind of make sure the numbers aren't skewed and actually have a real comparison. So that was the only thing.
Yeah, that's sort of, I guess, a advantage in the new system with Oracle, like getting things in the month, the proper month for each and every year. But yeah, we'll take a note of that.
Okay, that was it.
Great, is the average wait time, is that taking into account yet dropped calls?
So we continue to work on that reporting. We're getting closer. Actually, Keith is still working with IT on it, and so we're hoping to have something prepared in March. But yes, we're getting closer to being able to really parse out and make sure we're capturing the full time. But Keith, I don't know.
Yeah, I just would note, I would just second that. And first of all, good morning. Thank you for having me as well. But the large number of drop calls you see is a result of we doing a change in our system. So we're moving from the old system to having the IVR calls at nights. So that's been documented. We had actually 1,000 calls dropped in a day, and IT recognized that as an error. So I would just put a note on December numbers. And then next month when you come back, should reflect the real numbers.
That's great. Thank you. I just want to say thanks for that breakout of the last 2% of smart meter. That's a great segue and to prepare us for, I guess, our next presentation, unless we have any more comments or questions about this. Great. So our next presentation is going to be with Deputy GSO Rebecca Johnsey.
Yes, thank you. It starts Smart Metering Program Road to Completion. There you go. Okay.
It's quick.
All right, next slide, please. So we're going to be talking about smart metering. We're at basically substantial completion. So this is kind of giving you a quick overview on where we are and what steps we have left to complete all of the remaining items. So as a reminder, we began installations in September of 2023. It's kind of amazing to see that because it seems like it was yesterday. As of December 2024, we hit a big milestone. We hit that halfway mark, 70,000 meters installed. I know Director Kennedy, you were there with us when we celebrated. It was very exciting. And then as of December of this past year, we have 135,000 meters installed. So this represents 96%. Roughly of our active customers. So we're considering this substantial completion of our project installations. And I'm going to talk about what's left through this process. Okay. All right. And then this year we're going to be focusing on transitioning to steady state operations. The ones that are left, the reason why we have some of those that are not completed is there are those more complex cases. These are things like additional construction needs. Maybe a tree grew over the box. Maybe the service was moved. Maybe there's a driveway that was paved over the meter, things like that. These are some of our accomplishments to date. Again, that 96% meter upgrades. We have 73% of our customers registered for the online portal. We're continuing to push for this. That's 95,000 customers right now are signed up, which is fantastic. 98% of our bills are based on actual reads. You know, before we started this project, it was about 45% per month. We also have, thank you, 67% of our past due customers signed up for Promise Pay. And I know Susanna's going to get into that in her presentation a little bit to give you more background there. And a 90% decrease in bill disputes. And of course, I have to put in my plug to sign up. There's the QR code. Tell your friends and family. We want to get everyone on that portal. So these are some of our key milestones for what I like to consider functional closeout. So again, the project, the main installation contractors, they're substantially complete. But when you think about function, our whole meter population, we want everyone to have a smart meter. We want every single potential location to have a smart meter, not just the ones with active accounts. We want them everywhere. So these are the things that we really need to do to functionally close out what that looks like. The first one is network system acceptance. So these are those collectors that we have around the city. Think of cell phone towers. And we have 12 locations throughout the city with antennas that pick up the reads from all of the different meters. 95% of our meters are heard by at least 3 of those collectors. However, as we deploy these, what we're finding is we're not hearing all of them with the contractual requirements. So right now we're about 96% of the contractual requirements on how often and how much we're hearing those hourly reads. So we can still bill. We're still getting the reads to bill, but from the contract perspective, we're not hitting the numbers. And so what that means is our contractor is going to install additional sites at their cost, not at our cost,
Right.
to make sure that they're hitting their contract requirements. They're also going to be installing some new lids, so areas where they're not hearing as well as we'd like them to. Instead of having the metal lid with the hole through the middle, we're going to have an RF-friendly composite lid, basically a plastic lid with the hole through the middle. So that means the signal not only can pass just through that hole, but through the entire lid. So it's going to boost that signal capacity. We also have return to utility meters. So this is a normal part of any project. There are going to be reasons why the contractor cannot complete the installation that we agree with them. We say, hey, look, they present them and we say, we agree that you cannot do this for a variety of reasons. And I'm gonna break those down for you on the next slide. But that's kind of your population of meters that are remaining. And then of course, we want to complete all of the installations. The goal is the end of this year. We're probably gonna have some stragglers into the next year for a variety of reasons, scheduling, construction, et cetera. But that is our goal. So these are those RTUs, those return to utilities. We accepted as a utility 8,224 meters. They submitted quite a few more than that, but these are the population that we accepted. So when we look at this whole population, that's a decent size number. We look in 2 priorities. The first is the customer having any kind of billing issue? They have to be the first ones. We can no longer bill based on estimates. So if we can't get them a read, that's our first group of people that we need to go out to. If they are able to get a read, then they're further down in the list. All right. If you look on the right-hand side, these are buckets that we break them down to. This is how we're tracking how we are completing these. We have already completed 1,400 of these RTUs. So we've already completed 17%, because you got to keep in mind these RTUs have been rolling since the beginning of the project. So as we get them and accept them, our internal crews are going and completing these installations as we can. But you can see we've got a large number where we can't locate them or they're obstructed. So these are things like a construction trailer is dropped on top of it, or a deck has been built over the meter, things like this. So it's not that straightforward. We can't go rip up someone's deck, right? So we have to move the meter potentially down the line. We also have our large meter installations. We have just under 600 left to do. These are ones that require coordination with the owner. So when we cannot get the meter out of the hole, so our old meters were very large and they built the manhole around the meter. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to get them out, even if we want to change out the meter. We can't physically get out of the hole. So instead of having to break up the entire street and rebuild vaults, which is extraordinarily expensive, we're working with the owners to relocate that meter, usually on their property. We've been very successful with this. It allows them to schedule when the shutoff's going to be, use their plumbers to do the installation, and we come back and inspect on the back end. So that program is going very well, but of course it takes a lot of coordination. You're usually having to shut down valves in the street. You're going to have to block off areas in the street. And a lot of these are your big hotels, your big multifamilies. There's a lot involved there. So while it's a small number, these are larger users. So that's the coordination there, and of course it's impactful. So this is, we also have this bottom part. So when we talk about our total number of meters, the number that's on a lot of people's mind is 140,000, right? Because that's the number that we've historically talked about. So those are our active customers. Right now it's a little bit lower. It ranges anywhere from 138,000 to 140,000 active customers in the system. But we actually have 150,000 potential metered locations. And so what's important is that we're making sure that we're monitoring the usage at these locations, even if there's not an account. right? So it lets us know, is there a leak? Has someone started using water without setting up an account? It allows us to have that data for the full population view. And then my last slide is just an overview on our program spend as of December. So we have spent $67 million on that large installation contract, all of the components associated with those installations. We have about $2 million remaining. These are for that network acceptance testing, some supplies we need to complete those installations, all those remaining meters. And we've spent $7.5 million on project management and ancillary costs. So this dates back to 2021, all the way back to the design of the contract and bidding of the contract, is that whole population of cost. And we're not done, we're continuing.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Just a lot of appreciation right now, to be honest with you. Good. I think it's important to note, we were really, I mean, it is exciting, 96, 98% there, but there are people on the other end of that 4%. And so even though the numbers shrink, the importance doesn't. And so giving us the detail of how we get across the finish line, I think is really, really excellent. Really appreciate this.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation.
Thank you. Okay,
Thanks.
turn it
Anyone
over
else?
to you.
All right. Next, Susanna Kirby and team. You want to do your introductions for your presentation?
Sure will.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thanks
Morning.
for having us. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to tag on with Becca, as we have substantial completion of the smart meters. We've implemented Promise Pay. We're working on new strategies to work on collections, the HGI relationship, just the various topics that have come up during these meetings. We thought it would be a good time to share where we're at, where we're going, what we've seen. So now that we have some data, thanks to the smart meters and other activities that we're doing, the question has come up, why aren't we seeing more in collections, right? Why is that number not increasing like we would think we would, now that we are confident that we're billing accurately, and it's actual reads, and we're being successful with Promise Pay, right? So people are saying, yes, we owe this money, we sign up. What we have found with the data is that while people have signed up for Promise Pay, there's a disconnect where they're not paying their current bill. So they're unfortunately falling delinquent again. And it's also why we're not seeing that increase in collections like you think you would if someone's paying their Promise Pay and their current bill, if that makes sense. And so now that we kind of have that data and we have that understanding, how do we help our customers get to that point where they're paying both, and what paths do we have? So I have brought my billing manager, Nicole Kelly, here because she's the brains behind all of it. And she's gonna go through some slides to talk about those various topics. And so I will turn it over to her.
Good morning, everyone. So to piggyback off of Susanna, today I'll just cover a few slides going over customer service and collections, the direction that we're headed in, how we're doing with Promise Pay, and what's next to kind of strengthen credit and collections while we keep the customer experience front and center. So just consider this as a progress report as we move forward, what's working, what we've tuned, and where we're pushing next. So we're moving from a reactive approach to a more proactive revenue protection, and we're using segmentation to target that outreach. We've done that via a collections tracker that we've created and developed by working closely with field operations and improving our message clarity and compliance, which we began in November of last year by adding a 30-day letter in addition to the 60-day letter that we already had, and a phone call 1 day prior to the shutoff as a last opportunity for customers to pay, which some customers have taken advantage of. For Promise Pay, it continues to show strong performance, as Susanna mentioned. We've had over 16,000 participants, which 9,500 of those have actually completed their payment plans, and over 26 million collected. And this may be a good number, but we still need to understand that, we're still not seeing that revenue that we would like, which we found is because customers are not paying the bill. So our next step is ensuring customers stay current on both Promise Pay and their new monthly bills. So some enhancements to focus on simplification and accountability. We're considering consolidated delinquent balances, which would be any customers who develop a new delinquent balance would have the option to roll that new delinquent balance into their current Promise Pay plan. And they would have the opportunity to do this once per year. We're also considering direct bill payment integration, which would allow the customers to pay their current bill and delinquent balance directly on the Promise Pay site. And then automatic unenrollment for new delinquencies. So if a customer were to acquire a new delinquent balance, we would remove them or unenroll them from Promise Pay and send them through the normal collections process. So our timeline on this, to incorporate this, would be during Q2 of this year as we work with our vendor and IT and are able to collect data. So
Do you have a question, Director
I have
Howard?
a question. I just want to make sure I understand this. People on Promise Pay are paying the past due, but they're delinquent on the current. There's nothing in our, does the agreement make that a default with the
Yeah.
customer?
So our current agreement with Promise Pay only monitors the payments with Promise Pay. So if a customer falls delinquent 60 days, misses 2 payments in a row with Promise Pay, they do automatically get dropped from the plan. It does not take into account a new delinquency, right? So basically that just would start their process separately to fall into collections outside of, but,
And that's what we're
and
correcting?
that's what we're correcting.
Okay, because that's
Yes.
insane.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so of the 24,000 delinquent accounts, as mentioned, 16,000 of those are in Promise Pay. And as we just mentioned, it's important to note that some of them are falling delinquent again. So that structured outreach comes into play with that 30-day and 60-day letter and that final courtesy call to increase payment likelihood and strengthen operational monitoring, improves accuracy and that risk mitigation. So thus far, we've talked about collections, but I also wanted to move into credits and our partnership with HGI and how that has evolved over the past year. So HGI adjustments dropped from 18 million in Q4 of 2024 to 2 million in Q4 of 2025 due to increased accuracy and process stability. So our collaboration with HGI has improved dispute resolution, speed, and consistency. And we've also seen a decrease in adjustments overall by $1 million per month, which smart meters have played a major role in this by providing those accurate readings.
Excuse me, are the write-downs that are, I mean, the amounts that they are writing off, are those on smart meters or old meters?
Typically still old meters. With the smart meters, the only time that we're really seeing the credits is if it was genuinely like a leak and it's been repaired and they work in collaboration with us to ensure. But they are coming back to
Is
myself.
it their leak or our leak?
Well, so both, but as long, if the leak is on their side and it's been repaired, we will still offer the leak credit, but it has to be repaired. Yes.
We have a one-time per year leak adjustment credit. So when they repair their leak, we provide relief.
Right.
It's every year?
One annual.
Okay.
Okay, so our forward priorities, as mentioned throughout, is including revenue or refining our collections workflows, optimizing that Promise Pay for increased collections, and implementing a new CIS for accuracy and self-service, and maintaining shut-off capability as a last resort compliance tool. So I hope this gave a little bit of insight into the progress that we've made and some steps that we're taking to move forward to push us in the direction so that we can be where we would like to be, collecting more revenue. So we're doing this by refining the processes, incorporating smart meters, getting those accurate readings, leading to those accurate bills and our collaboration with HGI and minimizing those disputes and adjustments. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. No more questions. That concludes our 3 presentation items. Next, we have 1 action item, followed by 4 GSO recommendations. And Sierra, what's that?
Who's presenting the action item?
Sierra.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
sorry. That's what I was saying. Yeah. Sierra Boulevard is going to present our action item for today.
Good morning, directors. So today I am coming to ask for a 90-day extension for HDR so that we can get through the procurement process. The procurement process has begun, but we have not, the RFP is not out to accept bids yet, but we are in that process and expect to get that either the end of this month or the beginning of March. So that is coming through. The extension does add an additional approximately $77,000 to it, bringing the contract over the lifespan to $1.9 million approximately. HDR has helped with staff augmentation while we are still working through the civil service process and building a job and an organizational chart for the communications department. So still with the civil service, still working through that process with them as we continue, we hope to build a strong comms department and to be able to take some of our services more in-house. But that is where we are today. I do think it's in the best interest of the board to go ahead and extend the 90 days until we are able to get a new contractor on board.
I just want to state that I've talked numerously with her about the department, how we're trying to change it and grow. There's some slowing down going through civil service, not a fault of hers at all. She's jumped on top of that to move that forward. And so I support it, and it's only for a short period of time.
Yeah. Why didn't the RFP go out in time?
It was a bit of priorities that were happening here. So power complex, ribbon cutting, getting into the new year and 2026 priorities, working through civil service. We were hoping to hear back from them as well. So that is what happened in the extension, as well as the holidays. So.
Yes. Anyone?
Any other questions?
Nope. Thank you. May I have a motion to approve Resolution R29, 2026? Moved by Director Scruggs.
Second.
Second by Director Howard. Any discussion? Public comment? Public comment.
We have a public comment from Angela Kinlaw.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I won't be before you long, but I did want to come before you all today to share that we know that there's a priority in terms of water, sewage, and drainage for the systems that need to be cared for to run efficiently. And while there are many pressing needs, urgent needs in the area of water and sewage right now, we're encouraging this body, all of the committees and the board, to proactively work to ensure that there's an efficient drainage system. People care about drainage when there's floods, but when there's not a current flood, that's when we need to be working proactively to ensure that drainage is set up with the right conditions. And so it's been shared in the past, but we want to, in this new year of 2026, take advantage of this time to talk about prioritization and quality purpose-aligned management of the current resources that are needed to be used to achieve these outcomes. Because when the current resources are not being maximized to align with those outcomes, then there's a default to increasing bills, adding fees, new service fees, or increasing payment of any kind. And we want to go on record as rejecting that. We want to go on record as saying, as community members, that we need the current resources that are in possession of the Sewage and Water Board and the City of New Orleans to be aligned to meet these needs to improve the drainage system. In one of the earlier reports, there was mention of an opportunity to move forward with the minor drainage system. And we know that the City of New Orleans has neglected that for decades. In recent time, it's been turned over to the Sewage and Water Board. But as evidenced by that meeting that transpired yesterday, people don't care about what's happened in the past. They want to talk about what's now, now, now. Well, either we're going to name what's transpired in the past and course correct it, or it's going to continue to keep coming up. And we, as residents, are saying we need an efficient drainage system. Finally, just want to mention that even though people say verbally that they agree with that, we're looking for the actual conditions to be in place to ensure that that happens. So a concentrated, dedicated team of locally hired workers at a living wage focused on drainage as a team or a department, not a kind of like default off to the side department that's couched somewhere, but an actual department that is focused on drainage. The minor drainage system has to be prioritized. So we're asking you to comb the Sewage and Water Board coffers to figure that out, to ensure that we're not just investing all of the resources into a third-party contract, and if whatever is needed to lean into the relationship with civil service to ensure that that is moving smoothly, then that's what needs to happen. Because we're at the point now as community members where we cannot sit back and watch people just kind of point fingers at the other entity and say, well, they dragging their feet, therefore we have to make this work because our city and the condition around flooding requires it. So just wanted to come on record as saying that and hope that you will take that very seriously to prioritize that in an action-oriented way. Thank you.
Ms. Kinlaw.
Thank you. Greg, we have $3 million a year available for drainage, is that correct, after SELA?
For capital expenditures.
For capital expenditures? Okay.
That's about the estimate, yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other public comment?
No other public comment, Chair.
All right, we will go to all in favor of the motion that was presented?
Oh, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays, any abstention? All right, the motion carries. Thank you very much. That's Resolution R29, 2026 carries. Next, we will have our GSO, Caitlin Timrick, with GSO's recommendations.
All right, good morning, everybody. All right, we have 4 change orders by ratification today. I believe we'll do these all in globo, starting with R009, 2026. This is ratification of change order number 4 for contract 30229 for the Carrollton Basin number 1 sewer rehabilitation program between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services. This is change order 4, which simply adds 165 days to the contract for a new substantial completion date of February 28th, 2026, and also adds and adjusts several bid items to reflect actual quantity of work performed. The next would be R010, 2026, ratification of change order number 5 for contract 30245, Carrollton Basin number 13, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and BLD Services, LLC. Change order 5 represents 2 field change orders, one of which was actually brought before the board, but needed to add an additional $17.57 to correct the record. And also adds 444 days for the contract duration. So this change order brings the substantial completion date of this project to December 4th, 2026, and adds $17.57 to the total contract value. R011, 2026, ratification of change order number 1 for contract 30259, Carrollton Basin number 18, sewer rehabilitation between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Hard Rock Construction. Change order 1 adds $775,384.34, or about 5.2% of the total the original contract value, as well as adds 294 days to the contract time with a new substantial completion date of October 21st, 2025. This was field change orders 1 through 7, combined multiple bid items and adjusted quantities to reflect work actually performed. And again, this was for the CERT project where all the majority of, or the construction has been completed and all that remains would be restoration of these ongoing projects. All right, and number 4 would be R013, 2026. This is ratification of change order number 7 for contract 1420, Power Complex Phase 1 Equipment Installation and Commissioning between the Sewerage and Water Board of New Orleans and Frischertz Barnes, a joint venture. This represents 4 field change orders and a total of $232,495, bringing the total change order for the contract to about 2.8% of the total contract value, and does not add any additional time at this time. All right, any questions?
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve contract change order by ratifications resolutions R009, 2026, R010, 2026, R011, 2026, and R013, 2026?
So moved.
Moved by Director Greenwich,
Second.
second by Director Scruggs. Any discussion, any discussion? Any further public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any nays, any abstentions? No. All motions, the motion carries for those ratifications. There are 4 information items in your packet. Any further questions, comments? None. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Director Howard,
Second.
second by Director Greenwich. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.